Good evening, guys. Um, we thank we're thanking you as subscribers for continuing to subscribe to our videos and seeing the various videos that we're putting out. We want to be a ministry that's informative, but yet educational to bring to light things that are happening in the community. For over the last few weeks, since the presidential election, I have been pretty much silent concerning the whole issue of Donald Trump and his cabinet picks for his transitional team. I've been sort of just watching each of the confirmation hearings to hear what the people that are being nominated are saying. And I would encourage each citizen to listen to these confirmations. Many of them are on YouTube, just like you're watching me now. You can get many of the confirmation hearings on YouTube. I believe all of them are on YouTube in some manner or form or portion. But I think it's important that we as American people, if we're going to be informed who's going to be running our country and what they're actually saying, then we need to take time to watch these confirmational hearings. I know there's a lot of African American people are saying negative things about Donald Trump and his transitional team, and that is truly understandable based on the misogyny and the negativism or negativity that he done throughout his campaign to people that had a different opinion of him. I find that most Trump supporters have that same attitude and have because of people having different opinions concerning them. But people, this is why we live in the democracy, because just because you have been elected as president, if I was an opposite voter of you, of course I'm going to have a different opinion concerning your election as well as your presidency. And for the last week or so, I find that Donald Trump has been in a tweet um, battle with John Lewis, Representative John Lewis, is a representative of Atlanta, Georgia, that has contributed much to the African American community, and as well as trying to make things better for African Americans. And I find that people are getting mad at Mr. Lewis because of his opinions concerning the presidency of Donald Trump's presidency. Well, I would say to this, mad at a person concerning their opinion, you have to always remember historically Donald Trump has made the same kinds of negative statements concerning Barack Obama for the full last 6 years or 4 years of his term. Donald Trump has been uh, building a movement of the birther movement based on the fact that um, stating that Obama's birth certificate shows birth certificate is false, showing that he was not really born in the United States, which ultimately questions the legitimacy of his presidency. Now, as far as qualifications concerning Donald Trump to be a president, listen, folks, you have to go and read what is the qualifications of a president. The qualification of the President of the United States is a person must be a U.S. citizen. The person must the person must also be at least 35 years of age. There is no educational qualification to be the President of the United States. There is no experience required. Anybody, even you or I, can run for the President of the United States. It, so the thing is, No one can question his legitimacy as it relates to that. But when Mr. Lewis says concerning, Representative Lewis says concerning his statements as it relates to one of our sworn enemies, which is Russia, that's always been one of our sworn enemies, that, Donald Trump refused to call Russia a war criminal and refused to call Russia a human rights violator. And many of his cabinets, including Tillerman, refused to call Vladimir Putin a war criminal as well as a human rights violator, then that becomes a problem, and it becomes a question in mind, or brings question in mind as to why does this man have so many positive things to say about a non-citizen of the United States of America and a sworn enemy of the United States of America, versus he has negative things to say about every citizen of the United States of America. It becomes a question as to why he is so friendly and so snoozy with Vladimir Putin. And this is the reason that I've came to the conclusion is because he believes in some of Vladimir Putin's policies. One, in building this wall. Do you not know, American people, that it's important um, that we have a secure border and that we don't let anyone into our country that does not belong in our country. But you got to understand this: America has always, from the time that it first was formed as a union, it was a melting pot. Many of the Caucasians that has the Caucasian movement and all of those different things, they came from Europe. They was not originally from America. The original settlers here were Indian. So for us to have an attitude that we don't want to let any Muslims into this country, I think it actually violates our Constitution. And and ultimately, I believe that yes, we're supposed to vet the people that wants to enter this country, but we should not be willing to discriminate against them because of their race as well as their religion preference. Um, Everybody often says that America uh, is a Christian country, but history does show that the majority of the men that actually governed our country at that time and formed this union, the majority of them were preachers. So we can probably would say that this country was built upon Christian principles, but even Christianity is a melting pot. You know, Christianity is not meant for one race of people. Christianity was meant for all nations. And if we go to Acts, the first chapter, it tells us, you know, that once you receive power in that the Holy Ghost has come upon you, then ye shall be witnesses unto me and, in Jerusalem and Judea and the uttermost part of the earth. So even our faith as Christians is a melting pot. We should be willing to welcome and receive all people regardless of their race, especially if we say that we are Christians. How can we be or say that we're Christians and we have a prejudiced spirit? That is not of God and is not godly. But the other thing that concerns me with Mr. Trump is that he did say he's going to build this wall. To me, wall means communism. Anytime a person wants to wall us in, then you know um, that to me actually attacks our the foundation of our democracy, because we should be free to go and free to come, and yes, we're supposed to protect our borders. Yes, we're supposed to make sure that people are properly vetted coming into this country. But when we begin to talk about building walls, then we talk about creating a communism society. And we see historically that the USSR or Russia had a wall, and that wall was torn down because of the fact of communism. Communism is a system of control where the people don't have a voice and government runs everything. I don't want to live in a country like that and to be in a country where we don't have a democracy of a voice to speak concerning our government. We should be able to have a voice concerning the things of our government. Secondly, folks, is that the other concern that I have is this Obamacare issue. Even until this day, Mr. Trump has not yet gave us a brief synopsis of what the new health care law is going to be like. All he has stated and spouted is that they're going to repeal and replace Obamacare, but they have not given or demonstrated any ability to produce a plan as to what they're going to replace it with, nor have the Congress done it in 6 years. So it tells me for all of the 20 something million people that now have health care as it relates to Obamacare, that we gonna have a problem, because now if they repeal Obamacare, which at this point all they have done thus far is begin the process of repealing, we don't see them begin the process of legislating a replacement. So what that means is that many Americans, probably by the end of this year or the beginning of next year, is going to, those same 20 million is going to be without health care. And furthermore, it's going to affect Medicare, which is seniors medical insurance, and Medicaid, which is for the poor and needy. The other concern I have is that he says in his campaign promises that he's going to drain the swamp. Well, how is you going to drain the swamp with the very people that caused the swamp in the first place? It's like you telling me, I just doodled on myself, and instead of cleaning myself, I'm just going to add more doo doo. It doesn't make sense, because when you look at all of his cabinet picks, all of them are multi-millionaire, billionaire men and women. So ultimately, how can you drain the swamp when it's these people that are essentially causing the issue as it relates to the top 1% of controlling our economic economy? And so how is you going to drain the swamp when you have not even produced a plan as to any of the policies that you're going to implement? No one to this day knows the plan that Trump has in order to bring about America being great again, in his words, or in the words of his supporters. And even his supporters can't say what is his plan, you know. And then when you look at the confirmation hearing, you know, they are basically, you got some that support some of his plan, or some of his things that he said he's going to do, but then gave no direct information as to how he's going to do it, how they're going to pay for it, all those various things, you know. And none of those things has not been disclosed. So as an American voter, it comes to the point where I become concerned as to, you know, what are you going to do, how are you going to do it, and how much is going to cost me as a taxpayer, because I have to file my taxes today as a small businessman. I don't want my taxes to go up. and it costs me more money, and then those funds that I don't work hard for now goes into the pockets of wealthy men that already got money and that have already got wealth, and that is not paying any taxes. Thirdly, Mr. Trump has not at this point shared with the taxpayers as the American citizens, the voters, his tax return. Every sitting president, even up until Barack Obama, has disclosed in detail their tax returns. Mr. Trump said, "You won't learn anything about me from my tax returns." But I got the difference, sir. You are not telling the truth. Because when you look on that corporate return is going to show your assets and or your liabilities. And then it's going to break down your tax liability, and it's going to show who the shareholders of your company is. It's also going to show who you're doing business with in those schedules. All those things become a factor in an itemized tax return for a corporation. It doesn't matter if you're a $1 billion corporation or a $1 million corporation. It's all done the same way. The only reason why Mr. Trump do not want to disclose his tax returns, because it's going to disclose that he has some business dealings with some of our enemies, which will cause what we call a conflict of interest. And it also would show that he's intertwined in a lot of things that he said he gonna drain the swamp with. He's saying he's gonna drain the swamp here and all I hear from the Republicans is cut, cut, cut. But guess what? You're cutting programs and things that benefit working class people while you're implementing and bringing forth things that benefits billionaires and millionaires. Americans, let's wake up and see it for what it is. But the thing is, we can't change it now. If Trump has already been voted in as the president of the United States. What I would suggest to Americans that in the next 4 years, you need to tighten up your belt, stop spending fruitlessly, and stop doing things that you know that you usually do and take for granted doing. Begin to put back some savings as much as you can, and stockpile as much food and water and all that stuff you can have, because we don't know militarily where we stand either, because right now that's all they keep talking about is we want to use military force. And then they blame Obama for reducing the military. Obama did that at the request of the American people, because the American people during the Bush era got tired of seeing our soldiers going over there dying for something that we did not agree with in the first place. And if we are to be a nation of the people, by the people, which in my opinion, I believe that's out the window. They don't mean the hill of beans of the paper is written on, because we're not a nation of the people, by the people, because if we did, then the people would have the voice. We're a nation of rich folks telling, again, us of what they're going to do. And the thing is that I listened to many posters on video about Trump supporters that now have buyer's remorse. Well, you should have thought before you bought. Now you're crying because you put this man in office without considering all the things that he said he's going to do versus what he could do. All you wanted him to do was attack poor people and people of color and color descent. And that ain't just African American, Muslims, you know, and Hispanics and all those people. That's all y'all cared about. So now, since you found out now that it's going to actually hit home to your pockets, now you're crying. Now you're upset. But guess what? It's all your fault. And if furthermore for the black people that has been going on here talking about F Trump and all that. Look, y'all, all of that emotional foolishness is not going to get us anywhere, and it hasn't gotten us anywhere. Because first and foremost, if you would have took your black behind to the polls and voted, then we wouldn't be looking at Trump as the president. But because there was no dramatic voter turnout like it was in the Obama years, that is the reason why we lost the election. Because people like the ones that comes on here and say all the negative things about Trump, you know what I'm saying? My question is, where was the stars and all of the stars that now don't want to support his cause? And that's, I mean, don't get mad at Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey is a money maker. That's what he does. He make money, and he gonna make money from the white man, the Chinese man, the Arab man. He gonna make money from wherever he. That's who he is. You ain't never seen Steve Harvey really spoke out about anything as it relates to black people. He never made any real statements concerning supporting his people in any way. Steve Harvey gets on his show and talk about his family and talk about him. So I mean, don't get mad at him for being him. He just being him. But the thing is that we got 4 years to get our act together and get out of ourselves and get out of our feelings and begin to organize from state to state, from community to community. It's too late to protest his election, folks. He's elected. He's going to be the president of the United States. Ain't nothing going to change but one, either assassination or two, impeachment. That's the only thing that's going to change that election. Don't you fools go out there trying to assassinate the president. It's stupid and it's only going to get you dead. You should have had your butt out there at the time it was time to go to the polls. You should have had a turnout then. That was the time for you to enact your voice. But now you want to come out in droves. Like, that's the problem with black people. We always be Johnny come lately. Then when we find out, oh, it's really gonna hurt us what he does. At first we got this attitude, oh, we don't care what happens. We don't care who get in the presidency. It ain't gonna affect me. It is gonna affect you. Guess what? The Congress and the Senate that's ran by Republicans, every law that's coming through legislation is gonna affect you. It's gonna affect your job. It's gonna affect how much money you make. It's gonna affect your family stability and your ability to thrive. And furthermore, if the president is a Republican, it's double jeopardy because now there is nothing stopping him or the Republicans from making and enacting laws. You all should have thought about this in the Bush era. You should have remembered that anytime the Republicans get in office, all they care about is war and taking care of the rich. That's all they've cared about. That's why we've been voting Democrat. Because Democrats is the only ones that have any care concerning the working class. All Republicans have ever done is worried about the poor, worried about the rich, and worried about going to war and taking somebody's stuff. That's all they worried about. So don't get mad now because you got buyer's remorse because you thought, yeah, white folks, you thought that his policies was only going to affect us black people. Guess what? Got news for you. Got to bust your bubble. It's going to affect you too. It's going to affect your job. It's going to affect your health care. And guess what? It's going to affect you sending your little babies to the education system. Because the person that's taking over the education, becoming the education secretary, she is retarded as the day is long. She do not know nothing about taking over that post. And I pray that they don't be stupid enough to confirm her because she got money. But we already know the Republicans, all they care about is their agenda. So they're going to give Trump whatever he wants so long as he signed their bills. And Trump going to sign it in record science. So all I can tell y'all, Strap on your seatbelts, tighten your belts on your budgets, sit at your kitchen table, make out your budgets, and calculate 20% for kicking back for savings. Because in the Trump era, we gonna need it. Because we're going to hit a recession. Because when he get through repealing Obamacare, 20 million Americans gonna go off insurance, and 20 million there's gonna be millions of Americans end up in the emergency room, which is gonna drive healthcare, which is gonna drive healthcare costs up even the more. You got to realize before Obamacare ever came to be, our healthcare system was crazy. The insurance company was taking advantage of people. They were taking people's money and not covering the illness and saying, sorry, I'm sorry you got a terminal illness that could be cured, but we're not going to pay for it. They've been doing that stuff for years, and that's why Obamacare came in to try to fix those problems. Is Obamacare a perfect law? No, it's not. Is Medicaid a perfect law? No, it's not. Is Medicare a perfect law? No, it's not. But to repeal it and to repeal it with the lie of replacing it, they don't have a replacement. People, wake up. They don't have it. If they did, they would have already presented it through the news media. They would have already shown their plan for replacement of the Obamacare. It, you can all lie and say that Trump transition team got it on their website. They may got a lot of mumble jumble, but you got to understand healthcare law is an extreme legislation, and it was hard for the Clintons to do it, and then Obama finally did it. And if anything, we should have been instead of repealing it, we should have been fixing it and taking out what didn't work and enhancing what did, and requiring that these insurance companies don't pull out. If they pull out, then they lose their sovereignty as an insurance company, because taking premiums from people and taking their money from poor working class people or working class people, and then when they get into a serious illness, you say you ain't gonna cover them, that is committing genocide. And these insurance companies been doing it for years. They've been doing it for our parents and our grandparents and everybody. So guess what? When they get through doing and just chopping up Obamacare, many of y'all gonna cry. But guess what? Guess what? You paid for it. So don't cry and don't boo-hoo. You just gonna have to strap on your seatbelt and pay for what you need to pay for. Your medicine's gonna go up, skyrocketing high. You think you're paying now in insurance premium. Guess what? Going back out into that regular system, it ain't gonna be better than Obamacare, I can assure you. It's gonna be worse. Because insurance companies, they want to give you those small premiums for smaller coverage. That's what they do. Guess what? It's always the saying goes, you get what you pay for. And everybody wants cheap premiums, but then they want all of the coverage. It has to be worked out. A good plan has to be worked out. And I know the Republicans don't have a plan. And I know Donald Trump don't have a plan. He been lying and flim-flamming because he's a businessman. He's a salesman. That's what he do. He's not here to help you. He's here to help the billionaires and the rich men get richer and the poor get poorer. May God bless you. Bye-bye.